All right. Greetings. Good life. This is Grandfather. Now, something's coming up. It could happen really soon. I believe it's happened once already, but the person who reported it was not believed. So, there are forms of life that have lived in the waters and have migrated other places in the past few thousand years. But now those forms of life that live in the waters all over the planet will be emerging. They're not going to emerge to cause harm to any human being. But of course, they will need to eat, like all forms of life. Just know that all human beings will be completely safe, even though some of these forms of life will be rather large, and others will simply be unusual looking, and still others will be literally what you call the stuff that dreams are made of. These forms of life have been seen over the years by many people, but because of your modern cultures and because of the demand and needs of science to be able to reproduce something, even given a series of circumstances or not, there has been a general disbelief. Right now, science is still in its infancy, and this can be understood if we qualify the sciences as something that love and respect all life, that honor and respect all life, that study and respect all life. I feel that is a pretty good description of science as you'll find it in the cultures of all other planets. And so, given that description, you can see why science still has a way to go to becoming mature in its approach to all life on this planet. But there is progress there, and many scientists are respectful and also have love for all life. And this is important. Love is the glue that holds all things together, that desire to be together, or that are happy to be together, or that welcome being together. And that is a surprisingly high percentage of everything. But respect requires that love stay back a little bit if needed, while people and what they do take time to come to that loving position, which requires a considerable amount of allowance. Now, more about what's going to happen. These forms of life will definitely look aquatic. They'll look like they're meant to be in the water. So none of them is going to come out of the water and come up on the land, stand up and talk, and then go back into the water the way human beings can do. But some of them will be able to come to the shorelines, and sensitive peoples amongst human beings will be able to understand the communication, and there will be communication. It's not so much verbal, but it is something you'll just know. Now you understand this, those of you who have pets. There's a great deal of knowing and understanding between human beings who have pets and pets who live with human beings. So this is not anything new. just know that these forms of life, who are surprising in their beauty many times, who are a bit overwhelming in their size at other times, and who sometimes look so charming that you'll want to hug one and bring it home. But don't do that. There'll be plenty of them around, and it will be like a phenomena that people go to the beach to observe and say, what is that? And where are they from? And why are they here? And don't they look beautiful? And so on. So they're not meant to be taken home. I might add that pets need to be free as well. So those of you who keep them indoors when they want to go outdoors, know that part of respect does contain allowance. All right. No lectures today. So, these forms of life are not from another planet. All right? Oh, you could say in the largest sense that everyone on Earth, with very few exceptions, was originally in their original form from another planet. But I'm talking about the fact that these beings are not flying here in a ship from another planet and emerging in the waters. It's not like that. These beings have been in the waters, on this planet, in the past, for a long, long time. But they found a place to go where they could remain, living, not sleeping or hibernating, but living. It's really like another portion of Mother Earth that has been closed off to most of you. However, some of you have been having visions that connect you with this place. This place is not exactly what I would call something associated with a dream, but it is a place that can be seen at times in dreams. It is also a place that can be seen in visions, those of you who have those. When you have your visions, there will often be vast spaces you can look into, though there will usually be human beings around doing something, relaxing, pursuing their interests in some comfortable way that harms no one, and seems to be something that you would like to participate in yourselves. You get the idea. There are usually beautiful lights in the sky, and by that I mean such as one might see in a sunrise or a sunset, like that. Sometimes the colors are different than one would see in such an event. Sometimes there are very bright little lights, very intense, moving about. But most of the time, it is something that looks like a place that's not very crowded with human beings, and looks like a place you'd like to explore. But the vision does not take place in such a way as you can directly explore it. So, I just want to let you know that those of you who are having dreams of this wonderful place, or visions of this place, it is not far away. It is another expression of Earth that has been hidden to you for a time. It will be discoverable, and some human beings will be able to explore it. They will feel like astronauts, but they won't need to wear any heavy suits of equipment. They'll be able to walk about just like they do on Earth now, with a minimum of equipment. The water will be safe to drink, the food will be safe to eat, the people will be safe to encounter. All that is coming up within the next few years. Might not be instantaneously, might not be this year, but it will be much easier to access than you think. It will not require abundant electricity to accomplish, those of you who are exploring things that way. It will only require the attitudes that I suggested earlier in this talk: love, allowance, and recognizing that other forms of life will be like you. They will be who they are, and in their society, they will be that way, in the most benevolent way for all beings. And you might recognize that, if that is not a word in your language, as good and kind to all beings, and experiencing goodness and kindness to oneself. Now, a little more on the forms of life in the waters. Some of them will look like fish, some will look like humans, some will look like both, but they will all be aquatic. Some will look as if they could not possibly live in the water. You will ask yourselves, but how do they breathe? And yet, the fascination will not overcome the beauty. The beauty and the good feeling, the energy, for lack of a better word, if you don't mind my saying, that emanates from these beings will feel wonderful, and it will remind you very much of the same energy feeling that is in the air around your own babies. You know, when babies are born, they have this wonderful feeling about them. Parents know this, family often knows this, and how many times, really, have you seen a mother or a father carrying a very young child or a baby out and about, perhaps in a supermarket, perhaps on the street for a stroll? How many times have you seen that and not been able to smile? It is a wondrous sight. It is a happy sight, for these beings are very truly happy most of the time. So, it will feel exactly like that. It will be very hard to be in the presence of these beings without feeling that way. Now let me measure the presence for you. They will be able to be as much as a quarter of a mile away for you to feel that energy. And you, if you're on a boat, for instance, could be as close to, say, maybe 100 feet from them and still feel that energy. But as it is always with those who are just meeting each other or new to meeting each other, there might be a circumstance where you do not actually feel completely comfortable when you are closer. That's why nowadays meeting somebody on the computer can sometimes be fun, can't it? And then you go and have tea or coffee, or see them on the playground, and meet each other face to face. But still there is a tendency to approach slowly, most often. So be respectful of each other, don't rush at each other, allow the approach to feel welcoming on both parts, just the way it is best to meet another human being as well. So, I just wanted to let you know that this is happening. It's actually happening now. As I say, the person that reported it was not believed, but it has happened to others that did not report it. I'm talking about physically now, not in dreams or visions. I want you to know that this is real, and you will have that opportunity to know that it's true. Some of you will naturally take pictures or videos, and I'm sorry to say that those will not be believed for quite a while. So take pictures, take all the videos you want, and be sure and say, it was real, I was there, I believe it. Something like that in your own words. But don't try to convince anybody that it's real, all right? They'll have their chance as long as they live near or around or can visit a body of water of some significance. And by significance, I do not mean that creeks and streams are not significant. But this is less likely to happen in a creek or a stream or a river that runs low on the low water. This will have to be something that is a significant and has depth body of water and that is not too polluted. I know right now the oceans are being polluted a bit by radioactivity, but this will pass. And also, these beings will be able to be in those waters, even with a little radioactivity, for short periods of time. But then they will submerge, and they will somewhat mysteriously to you seem to disappear. So those of you who can track things underwater, don't be surprised if they go underwater and then they disappear off your tracking device. It is not a trick. It is that they will have accessible to them that way into that other place I mentioned, that you also will be able to find your way into before too long. That other place is not some place like a dream. It is a more benevolent, yes, a kinder and more gentle and more loving form of earth, and you will have access to that before too long. I have mentioned this before. It is a form of earth that is about 4, depending on where you go, or 5 times as large as this earth, but it is this planet, in this solar system, in this space. Those of you who are able to accept that know what I'm talking about. And those of you in the science field who are at the borderlines and even the fringes, some of you might say, of physics also know that that's true. And for that matter, some of you who've simply studied what can be know that that's true. That's all you really need to know about that right now. So, these forms of life are emerging now. Many of you at sea may be blessed to see them, not just in very large vessels involved in shipping, but many times smaller vessels. Those of you who are fishing will probably not catch them in a net, but if you do, and this could happen, all right, it is very important that you make certain to release them. You will feel if you don't release them, all right? I'm going to let you know how you're going to feel personally. You will feel if any harm comes to one of these beings, all right? You will feel uncomfortable, you will probably have nightmares, and you will have to find a way to ask for forgiveness. I know that that might seem strange, but many people who fish and feed the world because they are fishing, so respect all people who do that. You know that in the past you have caught some beings and unintentionally harmed them. And now you are having some dreams and visions and even nightmares that won't go away. I want to give you something special for this video today. Those of you fishermen and fisherwomen who have had such an experience and can't make the nightmare go away. Go down to the sea. If you can, go out a ways, say a half a mile on the water, not to fish, just to do this thing. Try to not be leaning on the metal rail if you can help it. But it's all right if you need to, especially if it's a place you've leaned before. Let it be something other than a fishing boat, if it can be. But if it's a fishing boat, and it must be, then so be it. Look towards the waters and say this in your own language. I heartily apologize to all those I have harmed, intentionally or otherwise, in these waters and in other waters. I ask your forgiveness, and I recommend that you be able to forgive me as I will forgive myself. I know that sounds a bit strange, but it is important to say you recommend it, because it allows them to grow and understand, those beings that have been harmed, for all beings live on in spirit. It allows them to understand that you are communicating with them as an equal, and that you will recommend it to others of your species, meaning the human race, as an equal as well. I'm sure that this will help many of you. If you are unable to get out onto the waters, then you can say something like that, looking at the water from the shore. Maybe that will work. If you are unable to release the nightmare or the bad dream you are having that way, then ask for forgiveness in whatever church, synagogue, or mosque you go to. That might work as well. You know, you've already tried that. So, that's about all for today. I just want you to know that these beings will be wondrous beings who will emerge. You will feel very good about them, and know that they'll feel good about you. They'll feel personally like they are astronauts, but they don't come from outer space. Good life.